Hey, g'day guys. So today we're going to be talking all about the pendulum squat, one of the really good variations for a squat pattern. If you're a bit overstimulated or maybe your lower back or your upper back's a bit taxed, great way to get it and to avoid using the actual barbell. Also, where I was going with that is also a really great way to dive into your quads and just get that overall development through your legs. Now, when it comes to our pendulum squat, we need to decide and know what it is that we're targeting in order to then get the most out of it. Now, with all squats, doesn't matter what it is, with all squats, majority, and people argue, oh, low bar squat, is a lot more hip dominant. Yes, that's true, and you deliberately place that bar in the position so you do recruit a lot more hips and glutes and hams. But majority of squats in the literature will back this up with, I want to call them ECGs, but that's not right because I'm fairly certain that's to do with the heart. But it's what they do is they stick electrodes to your working muscles, and they tell you what's activating. And whenever you do a big heavy squat, majority of the time and majority of the load is rolling through your quadriceps. Right. So why is that important for us? Because that is what we're going to use this for, to develop and target and grow. Okay. Now we have that in mind. For those who haven't used a pendulum squat, obviously it's like a pendulum and it comes up and like that. Why is that important to us? Because when we are in this machine, we actually want to follow that line. And so in order to do that, we need to do a few things instead of just going up and losing our hips and our lower back. Let's talk about this a little bit deeper. So, obviously with all squats, we set our 3 points of contact up, okay, 1 and 2 through our big toe and our pinky toe where the toe connects to the foot. If you go up onto a calf press like this, you will feel points 1 and 2, and if we rock back onto our heels, that's point 3. And we're going to screw them into the ground because when we do this, it makes our hips stable. Okay, stability. There is an acronym that I want you to use for everything that you lift, and that is STEP: stability, tension, execution, then we track our performance. Right. So with this particular exercise, we need to make stable our hips and our shoulder blades. But this is the point that gets a little bit lost, and that with our midsection, we still need to stabilize it, but we don't need to put in as much work when it comes to, say, our breathing patterns and our stability, because we don't need to brace so heavily through our upper portion because of the bench. Okay, so what I am getting at is that when you do a barbell squat, you take a big deep breath in and you've got to brace absolutely everything. Okay, with this, what we need to do is generate force coming back, and our stability will be created through the bench. Okay, so this is something really important to think about and realize, is because if we can pull our shoulder blades back and down and we have and concentrate on our feet, well, really all we need to then concentrate and think about is diving into our quads and getting that motion happening there. We can use this back brace for exactly what it's designed for, and that is a brace. So let's demonstrate what's going on here. So I'm going to get in and I'm going to set my feet up in probably close or just past shoulder width stance. If you're normally a low bar squat person, then I would think about bringing your feet into where you would have your feet for, say, a high bar squat, front squat, or a safety bar squat, and I would have them rolling just past shoulder width. I'd screw my feet in, create 3 points of contact, and you want to allow your knee to fall slightly over your foot, okay? But just go in the range that works best for you, but make sure that you're really hitting those quads. So if you need to shuffle back a bit, by all means do so, but if you feel your knees load up too much, then maybe take your feet a little bit forward. Now, my sought after position is just here. So now, what am I thinking when I'm doing this exercise? Well, the pendulum is going to take me on the line that it wants to go. and there's not much deviation. In fact, there's no deviation whatsoever. You're going to travel that line. So what we are looking to do is place as much force coming backwards with our legs and our body, and then we trust the line of the machine. And what's going to happen is you're going to feel your quads come absolutely alive. So we're going to pull our shoulder blades back and down. We're going to brace our stomach up against the bench. We're almost going to create a flat back, which is going to be polar opposite to, say, a bench press where we create that arch, okay? We don't want an arch. We want that flat braced back and our spine nice and still, stable, shoulder blades back and down, and lats engaged. From this position, I want to drive my legs into the pad and keep everything on. Even my arms are going to push back and into the pad. From here, take a big deep breath in, stable those abs. Knees are going to go out like a ballerina, like they normally would with all our squats, and we're just going to follow this line down. Ready? And then up, and we're pressing back into the pad. I cannot stress that enough. Instead of just going with the motion, we want to drive force back into the pad. So again, shoulder blades back and down, knees go out, and drive the force into the pad. And we can keep tension on our quads, which is going to make them grow. Very much, it should feel very much like a leg press, where the load is coming down and into the pad, and you're not only driving force back into the pad, but you're kind of pushing from the pad as well. It's a bit confusing, I understand, but if you think about a leg press, when the weight's bearing down on you, you press obviously the weight away, but you have such stability and sturdiness through the back pad. Same process here, except for obviously it's the pad that's moving, not so much the plate, okay? Yeah, and you really want to make sure that you're driving deep into those quads. If you're not feeling it through the quads, then you're missing out on those gains. So potentially revisit our 3 points of contact, screw your feet in, knees go out, push them out like a ballerina, very much like every other squat, and then come up, squeeze, contract, down, and control your descent. So think about a 3-second negative, even a pause at the bottom, right? Take that elasticity out of the muscle. So when you're coming down, okay, we're screwing our feet in, everything's flat against it, shoulder blades are pushing back, my knees are going to drive out, coming out, and we're pausing, and drive. Control, 1, 2, pause, drive. And that there, team, is how you want to go about executing the pendulum squat.